at all, you can't go wrong.
Today I'll be reviewing Dragon's Dogma and the expansion Dark Arisen on the PC. Dragon's Dogma is an action hack and slash RPG set in medieval fantasy. If I could describe the game in one sentence, it would be Shadow of Colossus climbing with Monster Hunter tail looting, playing like Devil May Cry. Yeah, it's kind of a unique game. Originally released on consoles in 2012, it was re-released on the PC in 2016. Published by Capcom, known for their action games, and directed by the guy who did Devil May Cry, Hideaki Itsuno. Devil May Cry, known for his over-the-top action and tight combat. So that's where the lineage comes from. Last thing I want to mention about him is that he actually failed once. Hideaki directed Devil May Cry 2, which had poor reception. But instead of running away, he doubled down and created some of the best action games of his time, like Devil May Cry 3 and 4. DMC as well. I respect that he held his ground and didn't run away. Dragon's Dogma even had an MMORPG and had an anime made after it. The MMO was shut down in 2019, and the anime, well, it was okay.
You're joking.
What is joking?
Just not to my taste. I don't even mind the CGI graphics. I've watched plenty of shows that do that. The anime's direction was just kind of bland and forgettable. Dragon's Dogma is actually rumored to have been only 60% complete. Executives only accepted 60% of the original idea, which, I admit, it was ambitious for its time since it was the first open-world RPG Capcom has published. So how are the visuals? Well, for the time it came out, it looked okay. It suffered from the usual visual graphic bugs like clothing clipping through each other. That can be forgiven. Hell, even modern games still suffer from that. The environment is pretty basic, with their textures being the weakest point of some of the visuals. I think what it's good at are the special effects, like casting a wall of fire or swinging of a sword. The opening of a portal looks pretty damn good. You can tell the game was meant to be played at a fast pace so you don't look very closely at the details. But if you slow down and look closely, the character models and the monsters are pretty well detailed. The clothing for the characters were based on real medieval clothing, so they look pretty grounded. Walking down a populated town, you would think you're in some kind of real-life Renaissance fair. As for the setting, Dragon's Dogma was heavily inspired from traditional Dungeons & Dragons medieval fantasy. They have it all: goblins, hydras, and even beholders. Wait, is that even allowed? Dragon's Dogma also had sprinkles of anime influences, like Berserk. I mean, they even had the whole costume in there for both Guts and Griffith. Overall, the visuals are passable. It isn't bad, but it isn't great either. So, how's the story? I won't spoil anything here you wouldn't already know. Right, so based on the cover art and literally everything about the marketing, you obviously go kill a dragon. The dragon, Grigori, has awakened and the first tasty village it sees is yours. Your call to adventure literally breaks down your door and you go answer it. But it turns out dragons are pretty tough and you end up dying. However, by the show of bravery, you get chosen by the dragon to be in Arisen. He brings you back to life so you can go kill him? Yeah, it's one of those typical JRPGs that have you come from humble beginnings to killing the big bad. You get the reason why you're no longer a peasant, and you get special perks. Sure, I guess that's fair enough. So now that you're the Arisen, you can summon pawns and control them. Pawns are interdimensional humans that follow the Arisen's commands. Yeah, it's kind of out of nowhere. The game doesn't even explain why there's an interdimensional portal rock, or how these guys even get here, and why they're older than civilization. It's a fantasy world, so I guess anything goes. People just got used to the extraordinary and don't question it.
It's madness.
So just like real life.
And it's all run with this game controller and these touchscreens.
Now you begin your adventure and go on a quest to kill the dragon. You travel with your pawn and 2 more pawns you can hire along the way. During your journey, you meet characters of this world and interact with them. There are merchants that sell goods and weapons. Then there are people who will give you a quest. Fornival, for example, sells rare trinkets and an arrow that kills anything instantly? Huh. Some characters are even secret and hidden, so you'll have to explore to find them. You can even romance an NPC you like by giving them their favorite gift.
Oh, thank you so much.
Dragon's Dogma has an open world, so you can travel anywhere you want. Do you want to go to that giant tower thing at the end of the shore? You can do that. Exploring the open world is rewarding, and there are plenty of monsters to kill to keep you engaged. One negative about questing is that there are quests that you can fail if you progress the main quest.
Know, however, that any errand you have taken on will be left to another to complete.
These aren't the typical fetch me 20 wolf pelt random quests either. Some open up a whole new section of the world and explore hidden characters and the lore.
For you see, I myself was once Arisen.
On one hand, it kinda sucks that you can mistakenly progress the main quest too far and be locked out of these side quests.
I must be clear. Your audience with His Grace will put an end to any current tasks.
But on the other hand, I kinda see the argument that once you're at a point in the story where you're slaying giant monsters, you probably wouldn't be dealing with the girl lost in the woods kinda quests. For things I missed, I start a new game. Which brings me to the next topic. You're only allowed one save. Yeah, that's right, you can't have a second character. You must play only one character or delete it to start a brand new game. This is so frustrating, especially if you didn't know any better and started a new game thinking you had multiple options. Doing that would delete your save file. The game does explain it, but I mean, come on, it's such an uncommon practice, I can't think of many games that do this anymore. And now the expansion Dark Arisen plays parallel with the main story of the game. So you can play both games without interrupting each other. I really like that. In Dark Arisen, you're ferried to a mysterious island that only the Arisen can travel to. Here you're asked to help someone deep in the dungeon. It's basically a huge dungeon crawl. I suspect that this was the other part of the 40% of the game that wasn't initially approved. If you're on the fence on whether or not you should buy the base game or the expansion for some reason, there's no contest. You should definitely get the expansion over the base game. It has hundreds of new gear, skills, and quests that improve the game. The mystery is also fun to watch it unfold, but the story is narrated in-game, so sometimes it's easy to miss. Hunting each puzzle piece reveals additional lore and awards experience points, so it's worth doing. But it's not like a Scooby-Doo mystery where you have to go hunting for each MacGuffin. This story unfolds itself as you go deeper, so you can just focus on dungeon delving. Now, onto sound. The soundtrack fits the game really well.
Can anyone hear me? Pray come and help!
But the voice acting, it's a coin toss.
See down that cursed well in the first place.
Can you read the worm speak? Gran told me. Faith knows.
More on that later. The background music matches with what you're doing and transitions with any changes like combat, a town, or even a dungeon. The full orchestra, upbeat tension, and epic choir really captures exactly what you feel like while adventuring. The soundtrack is honestly amazing to listen to. It fits so well with the fast, action-packed gameplay. It gets my blood pumping just hearing it. I can't imagine anything more fitting, it's just perfect. As for the sound effects, it sounds exactly what you would expect it to sound like. The sound of what a sword makes when bouncing off a shield, a tornado, or even something mundane like bottling up water. It's very grounded and doesn't really go over the top. Now for the voice acting. Personally, I liked it, but that may not be true for everyone. Julian's voice acting is really great and matches exactly what a self-centered douche would sound like. I love this guy. I even listened to the Japanese dub and I can't believe I'm saying this, but the English dub is better. Like take Julian's Japanese voice for example. He sounds more calm and mildly annoyed compared to the serious situation that he's in. I can tell he's supposed to sound like a jerk here, but he just sounds too calm.
Why am I speaking instead with a bleating she-goat mocked even by her own name?
For the English voice actor, you don't even have to know what he's saying to read his tone to be mocking and belittling.
Else suffer what consequence?
Now the gameplay is the star of the show. I liked how right off the bat the game starts with gameplay. The tutorial is mixed in with the story, so you don't have to read like a wall of text or spend hours on character customization. I think what could have been improved here was to showcase all three types of classes instead of only showing the fighter. After you finish the tutorial, you customize your character. Here you can change their appearance, height, weight, how old they look. It's pretty in-depth. The height and weight of your character are actually important. Height actually plays a role during gameplay, such as the size of your hitbox. So if an enemy swings, then a taller character is more likely to get hit as opposed to a shorter one. Weight plays a role in what you might think it might do, like being thrown off by a gust of wind and a weight limit, which I'll get into later. Once done customizing, you start the game. There are 3 main classes, or vocation, to play as: the fighter, ranger, and mage. They use the sword and shield, knife and bow, and a magic staff, respectively. There are also 3 more upgrades that go deep into their field, like the warrior that wields 2-handed weapons, a sorcerer that does more magic, and a ranger that does more bowing. Then Dragon's Dogma added in a mix of 2 classes to create a class that can do both. So, for example, a fighter with a mage creates the Mystic Knight that can both wield a heavy shield and a staff to cast spells. Or a ranger with a fighter making the assassin that can use both swords and a bow. My personal favorite is the Magic Archer. It has a unique skill where you light yourself on fire and burn your enemies around you. I don't know what that says about me, but I just like how I don't have to light a lantern anymore. I am the lantern. Every class has unique passive skills called augments. Augments have a pretty wild range from lighting your lantern a little bit brighter to being able to double jump. You can get pretty creative, but you can only equip 6 at a time, so just pick the best ones. The cool part about passives is that they transfer to other classes. It encourages you to experiment and level up classes you wouldn't normally play. It's really neat seeing synergies combined, like climbing skill from the strider for the warrior who wants to climb onto giant monsters and stab them. There's a lot of choices here. Dragon's Dogma has 9 classes, 112 skills, and 63 augments. But one thing to note is that skills are tied to weapons. The warrior only has 1 weapon slot, so they have the least amount of skills at only 3. Strider can technically have 8 skills active, and so the warrior actually got screwed here. You equip new weapons and armor through the inventory menu. You can also access healing items and tools through the menu as well. What's strange is that you can use healing items anytime you want, even mid-combat. I think it might have been an oversight, as it turns combat trivial with enough healing items. As long as you don't get killed in one hit, you just heal right back up to full health. This is somewhat countered by the weight limit. So your character can only carry so much before they become overburdened. With too much weight, you start to walk slowly and drain more stamina. Your weight limit is determined by a secret stat during character creation. So the heavier you are, the more you can carry. It's like you're being bullied for being fat. You carry everybody's stuff around. I have a problem with this. And no, not the bullying part. I feel like the weight limit should have been explained during character creation. It can get pretty annoying having such a tiny weight limit if you created a small character. Later on, you can buy an item that changes your appearance anytime, but it's pretty expensive and we're not talking about gold anymore. It's bought in Rift Crystals. Rift Crystals, or RC, is a currency used in late game. It's sometimes found looting late game enemies and chests on Bitter Black Isle. You can also get a lot by renting your pawns to someone online. In the same manner how you hire pawns off the street, your pawn is also available to other online players for hire. Your pawn will be randomly hired by players, and based on how much experience that player gains during gameplay, your pawn will be rewarded RC. The last thing I want to mention about inventory is the Throw Blast. So a Throw Blast is like a bomb anyone can throw. Simple, right? Yeah, actually a little too simple. Its damage is not related to your stats, so it can actually 1 or 2 shot most enemies. It makes the game trivial. If you're starting out, I recommend you stay away from Throw Blasts. I, on the other hand, Dragon's Dogma is an open world game, so you can pretty much walk anywhere you like. The difficulty of monsters are balanced pretty well to keep things interesting while slightly challenging. But then there's that one hill. Yeah, that one. So the main part of gameplay is the combat. It's pretty slow in the beginning. It takes a while before you start learning new skills and get new weapons, where the game really starts to pick up. Until then, you're sometimes feeling like you're doing almost no damage to some bosses. But man, does it pick up later. Dragon's Dogma's combat is unique in that you can climb monsters and break off pieces of them for loot. Every class plays pretty differently. The warrior rejects monsters into space. The ranger can fire 10 exploding arrows that have a nuclear yield of a small sun. Sorcerers can cast big spells that can cover the entire dungeon room and black out your screen. As for the Mystic Knight, I wasn't a huge fan of it. Now the Pawn Companion System. Pawns had this radical AI that learns new behavior as they witness it, simulating growth. If they see you turn off your lantern before a water source, they also turn off their lantern before water. They have one for each monster in every location in the game. One of the best features of combat was how status effects actually work on bosses. With only a few exceptions, almost all monsters can be affected by status effects. Like, see this ogre swinging his club around too quickly? I get a bow that's slowed and shoot him a few times. Then bam, I apply the slow status effect on him. Dragon's Dogma is one of the few games that I can remember where status effects are actually pretty useful. Now, I'm going to go over the spoilers for the story. If you want to skip the spoilers, go to here. Remember when I said this is the typical JRPG storyline? That stands true only to some degree. Here's where Dragon's Dogma tries to differentiate itself. Tries. The Arisen and the dragon are cyclic. The dragon appearing out of nowhere and the Arisen being chosen has been going on for hundreds of years. You get hints of this when you meet Dragonforged, an old Arisen from generations ago. He legit looks like a caveman, and actually is a caveman. The Arisen confronting the dragon is nothing new, and the world knows that. That explains why no one really takes you seriously. Hell, your first meeting with the king and you're being taken as a joke.
I fear your crown outshines my own.
Neighboring countries come to the aid of the Worm Hunt, but in reality, only Julian seems to be taking this seriously.
We came to Grancis, not to threat, but to slay a dragon.
Mercedes' country only sends one person,
I am Mercedes.
and that was just to get rid of her. So everything's kind of twisted from the traditional hero's journey, and you have to do this on your own. So, after a long journey, you finally reach the dragon, but he doesn't want to fight you right away. Instead, he presents you a choice. You can either risk fighting the dragon and maybe die, or sacrifice a character you've been romancing and be given a wish. Some Arisen take the wish, like Edmund to become king. I chose to fight the dragon. Say, remember that arrow I mentioned earlier that kills anything instantly?
Your choice is me.
So you kill the dragon and you're the hero, right? Nope. Killing the dragon actually made everything worse. The sky darkens, and a giant crater forms in the middle of Grand Soren. When you get back, everyone treats you like the villain and you fall into the cratering hole. The hole turns out to be an ever-repeating onto itself, so you're not in danger. But then this is where you do the most mundane final quest of all time, a fetch quest. You have to collect 20 wake stones to beat the game. This is a shame as some quests in Dragon's Dogma is actually pretty fun and interesting. They've done pretty well with mystery solving and dungeon delving before. Why couldn't they just do that here again? I guess this is where the cut content really hurt deep. Anyways, you collect 20 wake stones and open a portal to the Seneschal. It means steward in Old French and German, by the way. Similar to the dragon, he again presents you a choice. Either kill him, or go back home and live the life you've always dreamed of. A simple life. If you choose to kill him, he reveals himself as Savan. Remember Savan? The guy you played at the very beginning of the game? The tutorial guy? Yeah, he succeeded too, and got all the way where you are, and now you're his replacement. He made the dragon, the monsters, everything wrong with the world, just to pick the strongest willed person to replace him as the Seneschal. You do so, and eventually get bored and kill yourself. I'm not even joking. The only way to finish the game is to kill yourself. When you do, your pawn merges with you and becomes you. The end. Wow, okay, where to begin? This has to be one of the most convoluted and typical JRPG plot I've heard in a while. Humble beginnings and go kill God. Okay, sure. What they got right was how the story ties well with the gameplay. It explains why you're only allowed one save. The story ties well with the romance option. That's where the good things stop. The overly convoluted story had too many plot holes. Killing God is one thing, but the story never explains where the pawns came from or why your pawn becomes you. The ending adds more questions and stops at an unsatisfying conclusion. I know I keep saying that the cut content might be at fault here, but this ending really sucks. As for the expansion, Dark Arisen added a new storyline on Bitter Black Isle. The good part is that it's separate from the main story, so you can jump into either one anytime without missing a timed quest. Actually, there are no time quests in Dark Arisen. So that's a good start. Bitter Black Isle is supposed to be played after the main game, as the plot can spoil what the main game is about. So let's begin. The story of Dark Arisen is that it's an island made by a monster called Daemon from a long time ago in a different world. Daemon, which is the final boss of the story, was actually an Arisen like you, called Ash. Ash was an orphan from a dragon attack that was taken under the wings of another Arisen, Grete. So Grete is like a mother figure to him. Grete and her pawn Olra fought the dragon and failed. Grete became a dragon and a slave to the Seneschal. Only Olra barely made it back alive. As the new dragon, Grete chose Ash to be her successor Arisen, hoping he would succeed. Ash was oblivious to Grete's new form and swore to kill the dragon with Olra as his new pawn. As Ash and Olra journeyed together, Olra was slowly transforming into her old master, Grete. Then Ash falls in love with Olra. So, in other words, Ash wants to have sex with this one person who is his co-worker, slave, and mom. This is so fucked up. Anyways, Ash confronts the dragon and learns the truth. The very dragon he wants to kill is the same person he's trying to avenge. As with all dragons, it presents Ash a choice. Kill the dragon, which is his real mother figure and he kinda wants to sleep with. or kill his pawn, which he definitely wants to sleep with. Conflicted by this choice, he chooses neither and is cursed by the dragon to become a demon on Bitter Black Isle. Right, so this is so much more interesting than the base story. For me, the plot of Dark Arisen overshadows the original story. Dark Arisen explores that what if scenario of the game world. Exploring taboo topics like fraternizing your pawn was a bold move. Most importantly, the story finds a satisfying conclusion. You kill Daemon, release Ash's spirit from torment, and everyone finds resolution. I feel like the team had a better time developing Dark Arisen rather than the unfinished base game, and I think it shows. In conclusion, Dragon's Dogma is wide as a puddle but goes 6 feet deep. It had a messy development, but its action gameplay outshines the rough edges. Its unique gameplay gets me to play from time to time, as there's nothing else quite like it. You can get Dragon's Dogma on Steam and GOG.com. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time.
I would never violate his grace's privacy.
Well, he violates Bellini's privacy.